Sometimes, kindness shows up on the most ordinary nights. Not with applause. Not with cameras. Just one tired person making a quiet choice that changes everything. This is the story of a single dad, a long night, and a moment of compassion that came back to him in a way he never imagined. What his boss said the next morning didn't just surprise him, it reshaped his life. Before we begin, if you enjoy real-life stories that warm your heart and remind you of the power of kindness, please take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Tales River, and your support helps us keep these stories alive. Mark Wilson was used to being invisible. At 38, he was a single father to an 8-year-old daughter named Lily. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier after a sudden illness, leaving Mark to juggle grief, parenting, and survival all at once. He worked as a warehouse supervisor for a regional food distribution company outside Columbus, Ohio. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, barely. Mark's days started before sunrise. He packed Lily's lunch, braided her hair as best he could, and walked her to the bus stop every morning. After work, he rushed home to help with homework, cook dinner, and read bedtime stories. Even when his eyes burned with exhaustion. At work, Mark kept his head down. He showed up early, stayed late, and never complained. His boss, Diane Keller, was known for being sharp, demanding, and emotionally distant. She ran the warehouse with military precision and little patience for mistakes. Most employees were intimidated by her. Mark included. One Friday night, the company held a small celebration at a nearby restaurant. They had landed a big contract, and Diane insisted the supervisors attend. Mark almost didn't go. Babysitters cost money, and he hated being out late. But Lily begged him to go. "You never do anything fun, Dad," she said with a small smile. So he went. The dinner was loud and awkward at first. People talked about work, contracts, and deadlines. Diane surprised everyone by ordering wine. Then another glass. And another. Mark noticed her laughter growing louder, her posture looser. He'd never seen her like that. By the end of the night, it was clear something was wrong. Diane stood up too fast and nearly lost her balance. The restaurant staff looked concerned. One coworker whispered that Diane had driven herself. Mark felt his stomach tighten. People avoided eye contact. Some made excuses and left quickly. No one wanted to get involved. Diane was their boss, after all. Mark hesitated. He thought of Lily. He thought of the long drive home. He thought of how tired he was. Then he saw Diane fumbling with her keys. "Ms. Keller," he said gently, stepping forward. "I can drive you home." She blinked at him, confused. "I'm fine," she said, though her words slurred slightly. "I know," Mark replied calmly. "But let me help tonight." There was a long pause. For a moment, Mark wondered if he'd crossed a line. Then Diane's shoulders sagged. "Okay," she whispered. "Thank you." The drive was quiet at first. The city lights blurred past the windshield. Diane stared out the window, her confident mask gone. Halfway through the drive, she spoke. "My husband left last year," she said suddenly. "Didn't even try counseling." Mark didn't respond right away. He didn't want to intrude. "I'm sorry," he said softly. She nodded, her eyes glossy. "Work is the only thing I know how to control." Mark understood that more than he expected. When they arrived at her house, Mark helped her to the door. She steadied herself against the frame. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "I know," Mark replied. "But I wanted to." She looked at him differently then, not as an employee, but as a person. "Thank you, Mark," she said quietly. He drove home thinking that was the end of it. Just a decent thing done on a hard night. The next morning, Mark dropped Lily at the bus stop and headed to work, nervous. He worried Diane might be embarrassed. Or worse, angry. Maybe he'd overstepped. At 9 a.m., his phone buzzed. A message from HR. "Please come to the conference room." His heart sank. When Mark walked in, Diane was already there. She looked composed, professional, and sober. An HR manager sat beside her, papers neatly arranged. Mark swallowed. Mark, Diane said, standing up. Please have a seat. The HR manager smiled politely. This won't take long. Diane took a breath. Last night, she said, you showed me kindness when you didn't have to. You protected me, my safety, and my reputation. Mark nodded, unsure what to say. I asked HR to pull your file, Diane continued. Your attendance is perfect. Your performance reviews are excellent. But no one ever told me about your situation. She paused. You're raising a child alone, she said softly. And you're doing it while giving everything you have here. Mark felt his throat tighten. I've been promoted to Regional Operations Director, Diane said. Which means I'll be leaving this location. Mark was stunned. And I recommended you to replace me as warehouse manager. The room went silent. What? Mark whispered. The position comes with a salary increase, the HR manager added. Full benefits. And flexible hours. Mark couldn't speak. His hands trembled. Diane's voice softened. You reminded me that leadership isn't about power. It's about people. And you already lead with kindness. Tears filled Mark's eyes. He thought of Lily. Of the nights he worried about rent. Of the times he felt unseen. Thank you, he managed to say. Diane shook her head. No. Thank you. That afternoon, Mark picked Lily up from school with a smile she hadn't seen in a long time. What happened? She asked. That he knelt down and hugged her tightly. Something good, he said. Something really good. That night, they celebrated with pizza on the living room floor. Lily laughed, sauce on her cheeks, while Mark watched her with gratitude filling his chest. Weeks later, Diane sent Mark a handwritten note. Your kindness reminded me who I want to be, it read. I hope you never stop choosing compassion, even when it's hard. Mark kept that note in his wallet. He still works hard. Life is still busy. But now, when he sees someone struggling, he remembers that night. He remembers how one small act of kindness changed everything, and he teaches Lily the same lesson, because kindness doesn't just help others, sometimes, it lifts you too. If this story moved you, let it remind you that even the smallest act can echo in ways you'll never expect. Be kind. Be present. And never underestimate the power of showing up for someone when they need it most.